First of all, thanks, Minister, for coming in for the topical issue, and thank Corla for selecting it. Minister, Deputy Sherlock, Sean Sherlock, has also put this in. He is tied up at committee at the moment where they're having votes, but he's having the same issue as I'm sure other deputies are around the country, where we are, in the last week especially, we are being inundated with calls from people that have English licences and are in difficulty at changing them over. I understand that there is a walk-in service advertised on the websites, but unfortunately a lot of people that has gone in there has been hours of queues, not enough of staffing because probably they're under pressure, in fairness to them, and people are taking time off work. There is a panic, Minister, beginning to set in, and I understand that it's something like the 12th of April is the deadline for this. There is conflicting views coming from when you go in to change over your licence. People are stating that if you have an application made, you're okay. Some are hearing that until you have your new licence, and Deputy Sherlock has heard the same, that you cannot drive, and some people are saying that if you haven't it in time, then you may have to resit a test. And Minister, I would ask you, I think that in the spirit of partnership, in the line of, say, a lot of people from Ireland have made their life in England. Some of them go over on a Monday, come back on a Friday evening. There is a lot of people that, you know, intertangled between England and Ireland. We need to make sure that this is facilitated. I would ask you, under the common travel area, why haven't we a situation that we are now, that we shouldn't, in my opinion, we shouldn't be making them change over their licences, because there's a common travel area there long before ever either the UK or Ireland was in the EU. Or if you cannot do that, I would ask you, who's making up these rules? Is it the EU that's pushing the Irish government? What part of it is the RSA in it? And also, Minister, we need to, in my opinion, if you cannot solve it under the common travel area, why don't we give a breathing space of, say, a 3-month period? We need to put out very clear message to people on that. If you haven't it by the 12th, don't panic, because there'll be a grace period for, be it a month or whatever. You won't be put off the road. We need to make clear that you don't have to sit a driving test if you have an English licence already. And it is unusual because in Deputy Sherlock, and I'm sure other deputies' offices, over the last week, this panic has begun, and there are people ringing up, and it's actually causing a lot of frustration. And for people, you know, especially along Donegal and the border counties over to Deputy Adams's county, but indeed in other counties that's not even on the border counties that may have English licences. A lot of people might have worked years ago in England, came back to Ireland and always had an English licence. And I think we need to bring, or some civil servant needs to bring, a bit of common sense into this matter, rather than frustration growing. People that are working, Minister, cannot spend 3 and 4 hours. As we have been told, Deputy Sherlock and myself are getting this, that they're spending a few hours, taking it off work, and then that the queue goes that long that they won't get there, so they have to leave. And I think we need to solve this. From my understanding, you cannot do it online, and I'm open to correction, but that is my clarification on it, Minister, and I would ask you to bring clearance to this.
Thank you, Deputy Fitzmaurice. Minister, over to you, please.
Thank you, Councillor, and thank you, Deputy Fitzmaurice, for raising this very important and very topical issue. In the event of a no-deal Brexit, people resident in Ireland will no longer be able to drive on a UK driving licence. At present, we recognise other member state driving licences, but when the UK leaves the EU, the UK will no longer be a member state, and so the driving licence will not be recognised. The Road Safety Authority, through the National Driver Licence Services, are informing people to avail of the exchange facility in place to swap over the UK licence for an Irish licence before that facility extinguishes in the event of a no-deal Brexit. Legislation exists to allow for the recognition of foreign driving licences for exchange purposes in Section 23A of the Road Traffic Act 1961. If there is a no-deal Brexit, the UK becomes a third country, and the potential then exists for arrangements to be made under Section 23A. Ireland will be pursuing this option. This may take a little time to complete, as it involves the signing of a formal agreement with the UK and the introduction of secondary legislation here in Ireland. People who are not resident in the state, such as those visiting or on a temporary stay from the UK, do not need to exchange their licence. The NDLS are experiencing, and this is what I think Deputy Fitzmaurice is referring to, significantly increased demand, and extra resources are being put in place to maintain the current 10 days application processing time. Many NDLS centres have extended their opening hours by opening an hour earlier to 8 a.m. in the morning and closing at 6 or 6:30 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. in the evening, resulting in a total of 220 extra opening hours this week across the network across the country. The extra opening hours are helping to meet demand. Priority is being given to UK licence exchanges, with 38 staff working on UK licence exchange alone. Up to 600 licence exchanges are being processed daily. When attending any of the 36 NDLS centres nationally for any reason to apply for a learner permit or a driving licence, or to exchange a driving licence, it is recommended that an appointment be made. Due to the demand for UK licence exchanges, it may not be possible to make an appointment in time before the 12th of April deadline. The NDLS also provides approximately 1,300 slots per day for walk-in appointments. There will be a longer wait time for walk-ins, to which Deputy Fitzmaurice referred. But I am informed that no one has been turned away from a centre and that the queues are not too long. The walk-in slots equate to about 50% of the total slots available. Walk-in visits are encouraged before 11 a.m. and after 3 p.m. to avoid peak times. Details of the centre's opening hours are available on www.ndls.ie, along with all the necessary application forms and frequently asked questions. It is not practical to add more online appointment slots for booking, as this will take away from the walk-in slots. There is no way to differentiate between a normal licence renewal and an exchange licence when booking an appointment online. This could cause significant queues if the online slots are taken up by less urgent renewals versus the exchanges. As a consequence, booking availability has been increased from 4 to 6 weeks ahead to facilitate those who may be renewing a licence or learner permit and are not in an immediate rush. This has helped to reduce the pressure and allow more walk-in slots for exchange applications. It is not possible to hand in a UK driving licence at an NDLS centre and walk out with an Irish licence. There is a due diligence that must be completed to make sure the licence holder is entitled to the category of licence that is on their licence, and this could require contacting the original licensing authority to ensure that there are no endorsements or disqualifications on the licence. Ireland, as a member state, is obliged under Directive 2006/126/EC to carry out such due diligence when giving consideration to exchanging a driving licence for a member state licence.
Thank you. Minister Ross.
Minister, first of all, that's not the reply that people are looking for out there. It is by the book, some civil servant that wrote it. Just to drill down, you said there's legislation that can be done. If we were able to bring the Brexit legislation through here in a week, I'm damn sure that we can bring some legislation through that we will be ready to press the button on to make sure that there's an agreement between England and Ireland. Second of all, Minister, in the line of the numbers you gave out there, it is barely over one person in each centre that's looking after it when you look at the numbers of centres that's around the country. Thirdly, can you clarify if a person that has applied that they do not have to sit the test, can they drive if they haven't got their new licence? I want those things clarified. My understanding, Minister, is, and bear in mind, we have to listen to the people that's going there. We've heard clearly that people have waited 3 and 4 hours in a queue and haven't got. Basically, the place was closing, and you said yourself the hours that's there. 11,000 licences is my understanding that's done. There is 4,000 in the process at the moment, and there is a huge amount of people looking for licences. So, Minister, can you bring yourself as Minister a bit of common sense into this scenario and give until the end of April or something like that to try and make sure that there isn't this panic with the people out there. The reality on the ground is an awful lot different to what some civil servant wrote for you to read out in here. And I would ask you as Minister to first of all clarify, can you drive or can you give a grace period for the month of April to make sure that people are in line? Because I am hearing that people won't be able to drive to work if they haven't their licence, if they still have an English licence, or if they haven't got their licence back. I need that clarified. Can we bring this legislation through rapid in the Dáil before that date to make sure that there's no problem? Do you have to sit a test if you haven't it done by the 12th of April? And can you extend it is the most thing. Thank you.
Deputy Minister, to conclude, please.
I'd like to thank Deputy Fitzmaurice for his passion of what he's stating. All I can state here about the accusation that there are vast queues and great difficulties is that that's not the reports that I'm getting. And there is absolutely, as you say, there's a build-up. There are numbers building up at peak hours, as could be expected when you've got a dramatic feature of this sort happening. And there are more people turning up for walk-in slots. There are more people, obviously, applying for appointments. But the figures which I've got, and I can just give you this for figures for yesterday. In Castlebar, the number of people turned away was 4, in Cavan 1. In Ennis it was 0, in Roscommon it was 0, in your own County of Roscommon it was 0, in Athlone it was 0, in Carrick-on-Shannon 2 were waiting, in Clare Hall there were 3 waiting, that was open until 6, in Drogheda there were none, in Cork there were none, in Galway there were none, and I could keep going on. So the figures which I'm getting, which I guess that the Deputy would not for one second suggest have been falsified or are misleading in any way, don't actually accord with the image that you're building up of some vast queues of people who are frustrated at the doors. What's happening is that some of them are having to wait. Yes, you're absolutely right. But we are in an unprecedented situation. And what I would have thought that the Deputy would have said, instead of making wild accusations about civil servants who are producing accurate figures, I would have thought he would say, I want to congratulate you, Minister, on the fact that I'm just about to tell you, on the fact that a situation like this is being dealt with very adequately by opening for much longer hours, opening until 6 o'clock in the evening, and by opening at earlier hours. And the fact that they're putting on a large number of extra staff is something which we must applaud them for dealing with the problem which has emerged and taken them very, very suddenly.
All right. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.